Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Sunday edition of Nationwide. I'm Naja'at Tijani. Stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast, particularly Imo State, have reached a consensus to uphold the desire to protect, expand and sustain the party's victory in the zone. This unanimous decision by the stakeholders was reaffirmed at a press briefing in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi reports.
Since the inauguration of APC's National Caretaker and Extraordinary National Convention Committee, intra-party peace building among members has remained top on the agenda. Therefore, the quest for political stability in Imo State and the desire to sustain the resuscitated infrastructural development under the Buhari-led administration across the country, particularly in the Southeast, informed this decision.
We also encourage all members of the party to discontinue all legal suits as resolved by the last NEC meeting and supported by His Excellency, President Muhammad Buhari. We, the stakeholders of the party, as a party faithful, shall continue to support our APC-led government of His Excellency, Governor Governor Mala Buni led National Caretaker Committee, and we will continue to support the President Muhammad Buhari-led administration.
They unanimously agreed to take up the task of expanding the scope of APC with support to its leaders at all levels of government. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Similarly, the Imo State People's Democratic Party has concluded its state congress with Charles Ugu emerging the new state chairman of the party. Nkiru Onyejesi reports that the congress, which lasted late into Saturday night, was hitch-free.
That was the atmosphere at Kanunwanko Stadium, Owerri, as the winner of the Imo State PDP chairmanship position was announced by the Chairman Congress Panel Committee, Abuja. The newly elected chairman, Charles Ugu, emerged winner following the harmonization of most of the position.
This is an effort to strengthen our party and make it ready to serve Imo people, to capture governance mandate.
So my party expect me to gather all the women in Imo State to keep them together so that we have a chairman with capacity.
Some stakeholders expressed satisfaction over the outcome of the Congress, which they described as hitch-free. They further enjoined the newly elected executives to put in their best towards the development of the party.
I'm happy that victors have emerged and then the losers have lost. No victor.
Very well, keenly contested. Some of the positions were harmonized. One or two that couldn't be harmonized were voted for. And at the end of the day, we have a capable team to lead the party.
The new state executives of the PDP Imo State is expected to pilot the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. In Owerri, Nkiru Onyejesi, NTA News.
And from Imo State, we head to Katsina State, where the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, says hangars are to be constructed to ensure effective maintenance of aircraft for smooth operations in the fight against bandits ravaging the state and environs. The Chief of the Air Staff said this while addressing troops of the air component of Operation Hadarin Daji at the 213 Forward Operations Base, Katsina. Awal Halliru reports.
Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said the construction of the hangars would commence in 2 weeks' time and would be based in Katsina.
I believe by the time it is fully erected, it will add a lot of value to our maintenance. Our technicians will not have to maintain aircraft in the open, in the sun, under very harsh temperatures.
Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar appreciated the frontline troops for their courage, resilience and dedication. He also explained that more equipment for the fight against banditry would be provided to the troops to boost their morale.
We will continue to provide necessary tools to enhance your precise and effective prosecution of all operations, such as infrastructure, modern equipment, and so on.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari explained that communities and local people have to be involved to succeed in the fight against bandits in the state.
We as a government are looking at ways and means of assisting communities to sustain peace. This is in addition to community policing. We have to create ownership, leadership at the lowest level.
He then expressed gratitude to the Nigerian army for their efforts in ensuring peace in the country. In Katsina, Awal Haliru, NTA News.
Let's now join Dotun in Lagos for an update on a fire outbreak in Ladipo and more reports from that axis. Hello, Dotun.
Thank you, Najatu. The buildings affected by fire outbreak at number 16 Ladipo Street, Mushin, Lagos on Saturday have been leveled to ground zero to prevent any secondary incidents that could occur owing to the visible cracks on the walls of the buildings brought about by the intensity of the fire. Lane Leneke reports that traders clustered round the debris, discussing how to prevent reoccurrence of such calamity in the not-too-distant future.
What was left of the affected structures was pulled down by the officers of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, to prevent the traders from using them as temporary stalls, thereby endangering their lives. From the news gathered from the agency, about 30 shops, 6 bungalows, and 3-bedroom flats were razed down. Manuel Agunyi is one of the shop owners.
My material is Turkish material, which I sold 3,500 yards. So the value is about more than 100 million. It's terrible. I never experienced fire for my life.
Me that it was one man living in this compound. He was doing preparing indomie to eat. While doing that, the stove caught fire.
Fire extinguisher is very, very important to everybody, even in your house, in your room. It's very important to be having it.
Although fire was still burning in some parts of the affected areas, the traders engaged the services of water vendors to put it out. Number 16 Ladipo Street, usually known for its busy nature, is now a shadow of itself as commercial activities have been brought to a halt temporarily. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
Friday 7th and Sunday the 9th of August are the new dates set for churches and mosques in Lagos State to resume partial activities with 50% of their congregation at a time. As worshippers count down to the reopening, Joyken Abakoya takes a look at reactions to this news and preparations for religious centers.
In March this year, Lagos State began enforcement of COVID-19 prevention guidelines, which encourage social distancing and banned large gatherings. And so, religious houses in compliance shut their doors to congregation. Slowly, days turned into weeks and weeks to months, with many adopting online worship while hoping and praying that normal services will begin again. Just like an answered prayer, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu Saturday announced the reopening of worship centers in a few days. The news has thrown the religious community into jubilation.
I feel so excited, and not just me. I'm very sure that the body of Christ here in Lagos State is jubilating that they have got the freedom to worship their God as in the capacity of congregating.
Joy Mbakwe is a Christian who spent most Sundays in the last 4 months hooking up to online services. She says the thought of physically fellowshipping with others is overwhelming.
Nothing beats that one-on-one interaction, seeing people, getting to know how they are.
Although the commencement of services is not without conditions, religious leaders say measures are already in place to ensure 100% compliance.
We'll ensure by ourselves, not even involving government, we will move around, we have a task force that will make sure that churches are compliant.
We are alerting all our members, our worshippers, that whoever is coming to our mosque to worship should come with their nose mask.
We have a tally
which will give us the 50% of population on ground, which our committees will be on the front of the mosque, giving each person the tally.
However, as these centers warm up to resume partial activities, the expectation is that religious leaders will be faithful to their word, as the events of the next few weeks will determine whether the state has continued to progress or has retrogressed in curbing the virus. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakuya, NTA News.
The coronavirus curve is still rising globally, and governments around the world are employing measures to flatten it. Lagos still remains the epicenter in Nigeria, with high rate of community transmission. In this report, Hinginojan Adams takes a look at the role being played by community leaders to flatten the curve.
COVID-19 is no more new to the world. With the awareness that it may have come to stay, people are now learning to cohabit with it, resulting in lifestyle adjustments popularly known as the new normal. However, it seems as if some people are not aware that the virus continues to tighten its grip on the world and remains very contagious, killing millions. This is the reason for the spike in number of cases, but concerned authorities are not letting their guards down. With community transmission increasing in Lagos State, traditional rulers are employing various means of enlightenment and enforcement of the preventive COVID-19 measures.
We are almost 100% compliance with the safety rules, almost 100%. If there be anything left at all, it will be because we don't have enough sanitizers to distribute, because we have made some and we distribute.
We continue to sensitize and enlighten people that we don't want to continue to lose important souls.
We also have a bowl, washing hand bowl. We put it at the entrance of this gate for people that are coming into this community.
And using this opportunity to tell the entire nation, Lagos, Langbasa in particular, Kingdom, that the COVID-19 is real.
Even as these leaders try their best to make their people embrace all the health measures to curtail the coronavirus pandemic, more attention is shifted to the roles of individuals to ensure a COVID-19 free society. In Lagos, Hinginojan Adams, NTA News.
Let's now take a break. Nationwide will continue shortly.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, You can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
When you hear that sound, you know that Nigeria's most authentic newscast is about to begin. NTA Network News, breaking the news for over 40 years.
Welcome back to our Abuja studios. And still on health and COVID-19 in particular, the latest news from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says 386 new cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in Nigeria as of 11:30 p.m. on August the 1st. These 386 new COVID-19 cases bring the total number of confirmed cases to 43,537 in the country. In the breakdown, the FCT has 130, Lagos 65, Ondo 37, Osun 29 new cases, Plateau 23, Rivers 15, Enugu 14, Nasarawa 12, Bayelsa and Ebonyi have 11 new cases each. Ekiti has 9, while Oyo and Edo have 8 cases each. Abia has 6 new cases, while other states are Ogun and Katsina with 3 cases each. Imo and Adamawa with 1 new case each. The number of discharged COVID-19 patients has risen to 20,087, while 883 patients have unfortunately died from COVID-19 related complications. And World Breastfeeding Week is celebrated every year from the 1st to the 7th of August to encourage breastfeeding and improve the health of babies around the world. Basi Itaikman reports that this year the World Health Organization is working with UNICEF and partners to promote family-friendly policies which enable breastfeeding and help parents nurture and bond with their children in early life when it matters most.
Breast milk, especially that yellowish substance that comes out immediately after childbirth, professionals say is the only source of water and nutrients an infant needs within the first 6 months of life. A breakdown shows breast milk contains some valuable nutrients that can decrease respiratory infection, diarrhea, and other communicable diseases. Breastfeeding also contributes to child spacing, as well as decrease ovarian and breast cancer. Despite these gains, record shows that only 27% of lactating mothers give their babies only breast milk in the first 6 months of life, which is below 50% target. These and more inform the 7-day advocacy aimed at creating awareness on exclusive breastfeeding by WHO, UNICEF, and some partners.
So for this year, what we are looking at is ensure that there is a skill counseling services that ensure that mothers and family receive support for counseling and being able to breastfeed. And this counseling is key to ensure that this woman is able to really breastfeed her child very well.
This year's theme, Support Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet, experts say is apt. The week-long advocacy was also aimed at bringing to an end infant mortality from malnutrition and educate mothers on the need to adhere to exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, as well as continue complementary breastfeeding for 2 years of the child's life. Basi Taikbang, NTA News.
We have in the studio an expert to talk more on World Breastfeeding Week in the person of Dr. Salma Ibrahim Anaskulu, who is the Director of the Department Family Health, Federal Ministry of Health. You're welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Najatu.
Now, I want to talk about the problem. It seems cultural practices are hindering proper breastfeeding. For instance, in the rural areas, it has been found that some mothers don't give their babies, their newborns, colostrum, which is the first milk, which gives immunity to the child and is also very nutritious. So how are you overcoming this challenge?
Yes, thank you, Najatu. It's a huge challenge, cultural beliefs of people, because some believe that the first drops of the milk, because it's so small and scanty and it's yellowish in color, that is the colostrum, they feel it's not good, so they discard it. And this is a wrong practice. So what we do is to continue to enlighten women, continue to enlighten families and also men and community leaders that this colostrum that they discard is very important for the development of the baby, for the child survival of the baby. It's very little quantity but highly concentrated with food supplements, with even antibiotic, as I said, and it is very important for the child survival of the child, for the brain development of the child. So with that little drop of the colostrum, it gives a lot of energy and protection to the baby. So we need to continue to do the intensify enlightenment campaigns so that women will understand the importance, families will understand, because in our communities, women don't take decision alone. It's a total community that takes decision. So a lot of enlightenment campaigns have to go into the communities. Religious leaders have a very significant role to play. Community leaders have an important role to play, and even the grandmothers and the mother-in-laws also, they constitute a very significant, when it comes to decision making in the family on how to feed the babies and what not to use for the babies.
Now, talking about the family as a whole, you'll find that working mothers especially find it difficult to practice exclusive breastfeeding. So taking in cognizance the family-friendly policies of this year's celebration, will all this be addressed?
Yes, it has always been addressed and we will continue to address it. We continue to intensify action on that. So the whole idea is to have a baby-friendly environment. And this started like 20-something years ago when we started with the baby-friendly hospital initiative. And the reason behind that is to ensure that all our hospitals are friendly, provide a friendly environment that will promote, that will protect and also support breastfeeding for the newborns and also the children up to 2 years of age. So within the hospital environment, you ban the use of artificial feeds, you ban the use of bottle feeding, even artificial feeds, except if it is medically prescribed. So now beyond the hospital environment, the workplaces environment. Workplaces policies should include an enabling environment for mothers to be able to breastfeed their babies. And it was there that we started promoting work-friendly environment for breastfeeding, work-friendly initiative, where workplaces should have crèches for working mothers, because it is a nightmare for mother to leave a baby, and also some are not comfortable expressing the breast milk. So it's easier to have your baby with you, especially within the first 6 months, to guarantee exclusive breastfeeding for the babies. So after 6 months, you continue to up to 2 years, but then you start introducing supplementary feeding. So beyond even workplaces, women are in business, women are in marketplaces. So all places where women are, we should promote a friendly environment that will be conducive, that they can always have a privacy, that they can easily continue to breastfeed their babies. Because this is a food that is naturally available wherever the mother is and wherever the baby is. It's readily available for the baby at the right temperature, in the right quantity, in the right composition. It does not require any preparation. So this is the best food that any child can ever have, that has the right composition of the nutrients that a baby needs at that time. And the baby has the right composition of even the water composition of it. It is already there at the right temperature. So the best is to continue to promote it. And not just that, if you look at the theme of this year, we're talking about how does the breastfeeding contribute to a healthy planet. It does contribute because it's natural. It does not require fuel to prepare it. If you have to prepare a milk for a baby, you have to buy the artificial milk. You have to prepare it. You might need hot water, warm water. So all these processes pollute also the environment. So at the same time, it guarantees a healthier environment. And then the benefit is not only for the baby, but also for the mothers, because research has shown that mothers that breastfeed their babies are much, much healthier. They are psychologically balanced. They also take critical decisions at the right time. They are healthy. Evidence have shown that they have reduced cases of cancers, reduced cases of heart problems, and several other problems, including diabetes.
And
So,
speaking, sorry, let me cut you there, because
yes.
now that we've moved on to the health of the mother, we're now in this pandemic situation.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for mothers to protect their newborns in this coronavirus environment we now have?
Yes. So irrespective of the coronavirus, irrespective of the status of the mother, whether a mother is suspected or is diagnosed to be COVID positive, we still advocate and continue to promote breastfeeding. Mothers should continue to breastfeed their babies and continue to breastfeed their children up to 2 years of age, irrespective of status. What we advise mothers to do, because the benefits outweigh not breastfeeding, even with COVID. So what we advise mothers to do is to observe the protective measures and the preventive measures. Make sure they clean the surfaces before carrying the baby. Make sure they clean their hands with soap and water. They can also sanitize their hands with the sanitizers. Make sure they use the face cover, the nose cover, the mouth cover to protect them from infecting the baby at all the time that they are going to breastfeed the baby. And they should continue to breastfeed their baby as required, whether they have corona or they don't have coronaviruses, because this is the best. No evidence, scientific evidence so far, that has shown that the breast milk transmits to the baby. But it is the way of how you protect yourself and then observe all the protective measures. And even in Nigeria, we've had cases of COVID-positive mothers that continue to breastfeed their babies.
Without any incidents?
Without any incident, but just observing the preventive measures. And the babies were not infected. So we continue to advise, because this is the best nutrition that is naturally available to you at all time. And you should continue to do that. It's the first defense mechanism for the babies. It protects the children from infections. It protects them from viral infection, bacterial infection, diarrheal diseases. Most importantly, babies that are breastfed are smarter.
Thank you.
Their IQs are very high. They're very intelligent babies. And if you produce intelligent babies, it means we are going to have a better Nigeria, because we are going to have leaders that are very intelligent to lead us in our affairs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salma Ibrahim Anaskolo, Director, Family Health and Planning Department of the Federal Ministry of Health. Now, in other news, the Presidency has formally stated its position on the views expressed by the nephew of President Muhammadu Buhari, that is Malam Mamman Daura, on the BBC Hausa service, which elicited reaction from across section of Nigerians. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, explains that, as mentioned by the interviewee, the views were personal to him and did not in any way reflect that of either the President or his administration. The statement says, at the age of 80 and having served as Managing Director of one of Nigeria's most influential newspapers, the New Nigerian, Malam Mamman Daura certainly qualifies as an elder statesman with a national duty to hold perspectives and disseminate them as guaranteed under the nation's constitution. The Presidency believes that Malam Mamman Daura does not need the permission or clearance of anyone to exercise such a right. The issues discussed during the interview, the statement further clarifies, centers around themes on how the country could birth an appropriate process of political dialogue, leading to an evaluation of a democratic outcome that would serve the best interest of the average Nigerian, irrespective of where he is from. These issues, Garba Shehu maintains remain at the heart of Nigeria's evolving and young democracy, and as a veteran journalist, scholar and statesman, Malam Mamman Daura has seen enough to add his voice to those of many other participants. We're now joining our Ibadan Network Center, where Kemi is standing by for more stories on Nationwide.
And welcome to Ibadan. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Bajabiamila, has decried the deplorable condition of roads, especially in industrial areas of Ogun State. The Speaker, who was interacting with Governor Abiodun on the matter, assured him that the federal government will collaborate with the state to enhance infrastructure. Mohammed Adibowale's report is here presented.
The Speaker meeting with the governor that during deliberations, Governor Daura Abiodun had suggested that the federal government cede some federal roads to state. He explained that such suggestions are not feasible, as states can only take ownership of federal roads if the Privatization Act is amended.
This is an industrial state, so to speak, and if you have several companies that are developing the state of developing Nigeria, that are situated in places where they can't, that are not passable, it makes that environment very difficult to. It is for us to look at whether it is even possible legally for the state, for the federal government to transfer federal roads to any state. I'm not sure where the law stands on that. I'm not sure how feasible that is. But there's more than one way to skin a cat. So even where that is not feasible, because it might even require amendment of the Privatization Act, it's an asset, it's a federal government asset.
Governor Daura Abiodun appreciated the Speaker for the visit and promised not to take the House of Representatives' support for granted.
And a total of 1,600 persons living with disabilities across the 16 local government areas of Kwara State will benefit from the federal government's 3-month public works program. The program is expected to run between October to December 2020. Iyabode Olorushola has details.
The federal government program, among other things, is to give a sense of belonging to the physically challenged persons. Beneficiaries are expected to be between age 18 and 50 years. 30% of those to be recruited are women. It is not necessary for the beneficiaries to be indigenes of Kwara State, but must be resident in the state. Services to be rendered according to the state committee chairman of the program do not require any special skill. They are also expected to be the poorest of the poor in each of the local government areas.
It is important that this program that the government has set up, everybody benefits. But we want 20% to be educated or have a tertiary degree, because there's some type of work that they will be doing for other government agencies, like capturing data. So that requires some sort of education.
Stakeholders are applauding this initiative of President Muhammadu Buhari, which is expected to provide jobs for 774,000 Nigerian youth through the scheme. The program was attended by clusters of the physically challenged persons in Kwara State. Iyabode Olorushola, NTA News.
Eminent Nigerians have continued to commiserate with the family of late leader of the Afenifere and All Progressives Congress, Senator Fafunmi, at his Oshogbo residence. Governor Gboyega Oyetola, among early callers, described Fafunmi as an undiluted progressive. Tope Alabi has the reports.
The passing of 94-year-old Pa Ayorinde Fafunmi, the national leader of Yoruba's socio-cultural and political organization Afenifere, came to many as a rude shock, being one of the surviving followers of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Eminent Nigerians, including Governor Gboyega Oyetola at his Oshogbo residence along Iwo Road, came to sympathize with the family, who described Pa Fafunmi as an enigma.
He lived all his life as a progressive. He was always there for us. Baba lived a very fulfilling life.
He lived a life of live and let live.
We can look back and see that we are very proud of him and the legacies he has left behind, even though we may not be able to surpass it, but we're going to sustain it.
Born on September 25, 1925, Ayorinde Fafunmi hails from Iye Ekiti, and was a pharmacist turned politician, elected into the Senate in 1979 and became a member of House of Representatives in 1983. Senator Fafunmi also served as a member of the National Constitutional Conference in 1994. In Oshobo, Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide on the NTA. More reports with Najatu in Abuja.
Thank you, Kemi. Now, on the security front, troops of Exercise Sahel Sanity have rescued 17 kidnapped victims and eliminated 80 bandits between the 6th and 31st of July 2020 in operations spanning across Katsina, Zamfara and Sokoto states. A statement by the Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyeoku, indicates that 33 suspected bandits and 14 bandit informants were arrested, while several bandit camps, including the notorious Dangote Triangle, were destroyed. Brigadier General Onyeoku notes that several arms and rustled animals were also recovered in the ongoing operations in the zone. The Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, commends the troops for their gallantry and success exhibited within the short period and urges them to sustain the tempo. Meanwhile, in Borno State, the governor has opened up more roads in northern Borno preparatory to returning IDPs. This and more from our Maiduguri Network Center. Ibrahim is standing by.
Thank you, Najatu, and welcome to Maiduguri. Monguno Kukawa Road has been officially opened to motorists as part of efforts to resuscitate socio-economic activities. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum declared the road open and distributed vehicles to security formations at a ceremony held in Monguno town. Mohamed Gani reports that the governor, accompanied by Commander Secretary, drove on the road to visit Cross-Kawa, Kukawa, and Baga towns.
Professor Babagana Umara had presented 10 patrol vehicles to Sector 3 of the Operation Lafia Dole base in Monguno and 2 to civilian JTF before the formal reopening of the road. Monguno Kukawa Road was closed down to motorists about 2 years ago in the wake of the resurgence of attacks on the fringes of Lake Chad, leading to mass displacement of communities in the largely agrarian and the economically viable fishing zone of northern Borno. A resident of Kukawa, Mohamed Wakani, expressed delight over the governor's visit, which he said will pave the way for commencement of the reconstruction process. Borno State government saw the need to reopen the road to allow farmers access their farmlands, while government makes efforts to rebuild the ravaged communities, such as Cross, Kukawa, and Baga, stated by the governor.
With respect to the reopening of the road, I think that would also entail opening of access to the farmers so that they can go to their farmlands. In fact, the Chief of Army Staff has directed for the reopening of the road last 2 months. And immediately after the Salah, people of Kukawa will come back and then people shall start plying the road.
In each of the ravaged communities, the governor walked through the township to assess extent of damage. From Kukawa headquarters of Kukawa local government, Mohamed Goni, NTA News.
Over 80,000 residents and those from internally displaced persons camps in Monguno town have benefited from the distribution of food items and cash support as palliative. Governor Babagana personally supervised the distribution of the palliatives to ensure that the commodities get to the targeted beneficiaries as part of his official engagements in northern Borno. Again, Mohamed Guni reports.
Monguno town hosts internally displaced persons, mainly from Marte, Kukawa, Guzamala, and communities in Monguno local government areas. This was the third time Governor Babagana Umara has been personally supervising distribution of food and non-food items to ensure accountability in the process, which lasted for 3 days. Each male beneficiary was given a bag of rice and sorghum, while each female resident received 5,000 naira cash support, with assurance of getting food items in no distant future. Beneficiaries express appreciation for what they describe as a life-saving intervention by government. Professor Babagana Umara reassured beneficiaries of government's commitment to create enabling environment for them to access their farmlands, as well as rebuild their destroyed communities to resettle them, and further charged them to be prayerful. While in Monguno, Professor Babagana Umara inspected ongoing rebuilding work at the residence of the district head and the Monguno Mega School, where he directed for provision of security and maintenance of the project. The governor was also at the site of the ongoing construction of High Islamic College and 1,000 housing estates, where he directed site engineers to take time to ensure quality work by using standard building materials. From Mongono headquarters of Mongono local government, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
Back to the state capital, Shehu of Borno, Abubakar Ibn Umar Garbe El-Kanemi has lamented over the recent attack on the convoy of Governor Babagana Umar Zulum at Baga town. The Shehu was speaking when he led other traditional leaders for a Salah homage to the governor at the government house Maiduguri. Mohamed Guni reports.
Shehu Abubakar Ibn Umar Garbe El-Kanemi, who described the Baga incident as unfortunate and pitiful, said, "The security situation is getting worse and the tax citizens to seek Allah's intervention." The royal father also spoke on COVID-19 pandemic, urging Borno citizens to continue to adhere strictly to all preventive protocols advocated by the health workers. Speaking on the challenges affecting the environment, the Shehu lamented the high rate of felling of trees in the state, calling on government to take urgent steps to control the situation before it leads to a serious environmental catastrophe. He then called for reintroduction of tree planting program, which was a regular practice in the past. The royal father also made a case for deployment of adequate security personnel to protect farmers on their farmlands and used the opportunity to commend the governor for giving the people the desired leadership. Professor Bagana Umara thanked the Shehu for the visit and pledged to address the issues raised. The governor said rebuilding of the state is a collective task and enjoined all to contribute their quotas in that direction. In Maiduguri, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
The Eid Kabir celebration has not only boosted socio-economic activities across Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, but also created job opportunity for some unemployed youths. Jadwa John Justin reports that the business of ram head and leg dressing is thriving as youths make reasonable amount of money for themselves during the season.
The Eid Kabir celebration, like any other festivity, has boosted the activities of buying and selling of food and live animals, especially ram, cattle, goat and chicken, to celebrate the feast of sacrifice with loved ones. Unemployed youths across the metropolis and those cashing in on making changes have keyed into the business of dressing of animal heads and legs. The youth say it is better than sitting idle, waiting for manna to fall from above. The work, although short-lived, they added will enable them the opportunity to cater for themselves and the families.
Ana babbaka kai da kafa da wankewa da sarawa 500. Wani ma da shi zai samu ya kayan sallah kuma da dan wani abin da zaka ci kan nan dai a dawo wani hutu. Yara mun kai mu 12 muke aiki akan inji guda biyu. Ka tashi aiki kowa sai an bashi abin da aka samu kowa sai a bashi. In muka dan san wani aiki muka yi to Allah rahe ga mun samu dan abin da zamu rike iyalin mu da shi.
There are hundreds of temporary heads and legs dressing spots within the metropolis, normally activated during Eid Kabir. Patronizers describe the services rendered by the youth as commendable and worthy of emulation by others.
Gaskiya abu ne da ya kamata a yaba musu kwarai kuma a sake encouraging unsu.
Ka san zaman banza gaskiya ba shi da daɗi ko a ina ne. Shi yake sa yaro ya lalace ya zama yana shaye-shaye yana ɗauke-ɗauke.
Residents are optimistic that next year's Eid Kabir celebration will also be calm and peaceful as this year's. In Maiduguri, Jadwajon Jesni, NTA News.
I now hand you over to Najatu in Abuja for a continuation of Nationwide.
Thank you, Mohamed Ibrahim. I'll be expecting some of those delicious-looking rams I saw there. Well, at least fried. Now, in other news, under strict COVID-19 protocols, schools in the FCT are concluding arrangements for their senior certificate classes to resume and sit for the 2020 WAEC examinations. Hadiza Godwin Ebune visited some of such schools in the FCT and now reports.
That will be reopening are schools that are centers for these exams, and only in respect of the exiting classes. Primary schools and all other classes are excluded from this decision-making process.
Finally, it is examination season for schools in Nigeria. The finishing touches for this examination period, though, has taken some unusual dimension. Soap, running water and other COVID-19 safety facilities have taken precedence over the usual preparation. The requirement is the same thing for both public and private schools. Meanwhile, the Federal Capital Territory Education Secretariat, Secondary Education Board and Universal Basic Education Board all declined to speak on camera, but say they are going by the federal government directives. A director of a private school says they are not certain of resumption of JSS3 classes. Nevertheless, they are not leaving any stone unturned.
No specific date that was given, just like you heard 4th of August, that's how we have heard 4th of August. But we are remaining ready.
The pace of work at the schools have not been the same. Here at Government Secondary School Kubwa, the reality cannot be more stark. JSS Garki has started putting things in place by clearing grasses in the environment, while Government Secondary School Tudunwada is yet to start work to meet the set guidelines. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
Thank you, Hadiza. Similarly, a cross-section of residents in Port Harcourt want relevant authorities in the education sector to look beyond the new resumption date for exit classes to sit for their terminal examinations and plan ahead in the best interests of the sector. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The steps by the State Ministry of Education is in furtherance of the reopening of schools in the state to enable those in their exit classes to sit for the final examination. The emergency engagement with haste of the 257 WAEC centers where the examination is expected to take place is to prepare them on what is required towards ensuring a safe environment for the students.
Part of the argument people like me in particular have been deploying in the forum of commissioners is this. If you say why could not be written, you are compromising the educational future of the children.
To some parents, this was long anticipated. This is just as some were concerned that the long period students were out of school might impact negatively on their performance.
So many things have not been put in place to curtail this issue of coronavirus. So it's putting their life at risk.
I think government is right, but they should look for another alternative for the students to write. If it being that they will all be tested, you understand, before they will go into their classes and partake of the exam.
Are the school authorities ready? How prepared also are the students, especially with regards to covering the school curriculum?
The pandemic came a week to the closing of the school, and so a lot has been done. All we need to do now with this reopening is to talk about revision.
Okay, this is the best time for them to write examination because in a class, in a hall where you have 50 students, less than that, the other class is empty. So even if it's one student per seat.
Beyond the upcoming examinations, keen observers want the government to re-strategize and come up with policy framework to drive the education sector in line with the COVID-19 reality. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Another commercial break beckons. When we return, more stories on preparation for reopening of schools. Stay tuned.
Report any act of corruption to ICPC on toll-free number 0800-2255-4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying tuned. We're still talking about schools reopening. Some residents in Enugu have commended the federal government for the development and appeal that government should use the return of final year students as a testing ground for the reopening of all schools at a later date. Chidi Ukuruafo reports.
After a series of meetings with key players in education sector, the federal government, through the Federal Minister of Education, last Monday announced the reopening of schools for students in exit classes to enable them prepare for their WAEC examinations scheduled to start on August 17, 2020. Some parents, teachers, and students have expressed their feelings about the development.
Yeah, I feel so happy that government have come to our rescue.
I feel so excited. I'm going back to school.
How is these children going to cope? Like kind of all this while they haven't been studying. So how will they be able to write the exam? That is the main problem here.
My opinion is that not just exam classes will be opening, but every class should be open, including university students.
It was, however, the views of most respondents that inasmuch as writing the examinations is important to ensure that Nigerian students do not lose an academic year, the safety of those who will write the exam as well as those who will conduct it should not be compromised. The reason they said the Minister of Education at the federal and state level should ensure strict enforcement of safety guidelines and health protocols in schools.
That's why we are putting these protocols in place, so that when they come, after passing through the protocol, they will help us to, take care of the situation.
In Enugu, Chidi Okrafo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, educationists in Akwa Ibom State say they have put recommended COVID-19 safety protocols in the interest of the schools to check further spread of the coronavirus. Udwak Etim reports.
Although schools are being frustrated because of the prolonged closure and inability to write internal and external examinations, including WAEC and others, in order to take off academic activities in Nigeria, the federal government has recently announced August 4 as a new date for school resumption for exit classes after its virtual consultative meeting between education stakeholders. How prepared are the stakeholders in Akwa Ibom State in the face of COVID-19?
We are well prepared to receive the students back. We have all our materials in place. Going by the COVID-19 guidelines by the NCDC and the federal government, we have already sent messages to parents out there to get their wards face masks. We have hand sanitizers, the automated dispensing machines.
The school have consulted someone that did them, that is in charge of the face masks, the sanitizer. Everything is being put in place. Our standard here is 15 per class. So the standard already was there.
For the Akwa Ibom State government, plans are underway to meet up with the federal government COVID-19 protocols to safeguard the health of the students, teachers, and even the examiners. The protocols expected by the federal government and health authority is for successful management of the pandemic and to curb further spread of the virus. In Uyo, Udwak Etam, NTA News.
Thank you, Udwak. Now let's take a quick look at the weather prospects. And that concludes the news on NTA Nationwide. But before our final goodbye, here is a public service announcement.